the reason for joining the ICF and why you stay so dedicated.
Well, as I said, I didn't have a choice. My parents were members. My mother was an officer. I was a member of the junior branch, probably president of the junior branch. I became a member at 15 when you could become a regular member. And I liked the ICF. I liked its principles, but primarily I liked the people that I was associated with in the ICF. They were good friends of mine, and I found that throughout my history of the ICF, I found good people, interesting people who wanted to help achieve the goals of the ICF.
And those are special memories you have of the ICF?
Special memories?
Yeah, memories. Just working with other people, and or anything you'd like to share? What's your most special memories?
No.
They're all good ones, huh?
I mean, I could name all kinds of activities, but they weren't necessarily special. The ICF to me was very important in every aspect. They were all special.
So that's Al. What do you feel?
I have to agree with Tom. What I found special was being with people like Tom, or Rinaldo, or Larry Picchetti, or Felix Calvo, or Armand DiMartini, Mario Cuja. It was something. When you were with them, you felt comfortable. You know, I don't think there's anything you can pin and put your finger on and say, that's why. They were just, you gravitated to each other. They were good.
Now you were saying earlier when we talked before filming that you looked forward to getting together with them.
Oh my God, did we? Oh my goodness! Because I remember one time. Remember that time we were in Long Beach, Tom, and I had never had scotch in my life. And we were, you know, at that time, it was a common thing. We would meet in the Grand President's room. And people came to the Grand President's room and had a drink and socialized. We socialized. Well, it went on into the early morning hours sometimes, and the number came smaller and smaller. Finally got down to it was just Tom and myself. We ran out of ice. We ran out of cold water. And then we were using any tap water we could find. And then about 2:30, Rinaldo Carmazzi was the Grand President, and he was asleep. Well, naturally, we couldn't leave without waking him up and saying good night. I mean, that's the kind of relationships we had. You had that relationship, and you put up with each other, and you loved it. You know, just to give an example.
If I may add to that.
Sure.
Meeting with this group that we had was something that we look forward to. Nowadays, people think of meetings as something as business, as you have to accomplish certain things. You've got certain worries that have to be taken care of. We never worried about that. We would go out to dinner before the meeting, and we always arranged it so we could do it before, and we'd have one or two cocktails, and then we'd have the meeting, and then we'd have one or two cocktails after the meeting, and we just enjoyed it, and we enjoyed each other's company. Now, we weren't all saints.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there were probably no saints. But it was a very enjoyable group of people that Al has already mentioned. Al Teglia himself, and Larry Picchetti, and Armand DiMartini, and Joe Casanova, and Mario Cuja, etc. But we were a wonderful, friendly group, and we enjoyed each other.
Thank you. What do you remember about your work on the Central Council?
About my what?
About your work on the Central Council?
My work?
Yeah. Anything special that you accomplished, or?
Well, I had, my role, of course, was primarily, I remember being Grand President and being responsible for the programs of the ICF. And I found people very helpful. Whenever as Grand President, we didn't use a lot of money to send people around, except maybe the field director. But as president, I had an expense account. If I went to Los Angeles and it cost $80, airplane trip back and forth, I could charge that to the Central Council. Well, what I would do is take that $80 and divide it up among the people who came with me. Maybe there were 5 people who came with me. So I would divide the check by 6 and give everyone, and that way I got people to come. It wasn't only because of the money, but because of the friendship.
Exactly.
And I enjoyed doing that, and I thought that was fantastic.
That's a heck of a good idea. How about you, Al?
I have to totally agree with Tom. The expense accounts were almost non-existent, and you know, we traveled. Sometimes we went by car. We would travel to a meeting. I recall how many times we went to Salinas or to Monterey or to attend Bishop's Days or installations or whatever it might be. And we would either, I'll give one example. An example sometimes the best way to explain it. One day we were going down to Bishop's Day, I think in Salinas. So before we left, they came to my house and we had a lunch and some wine, of course, and then we drove down, I guess, in Ronaldo's car. I think maybe Ronaldo was Grand President at the time. And it was just a happy group of kids going to a Bishop's Day, you know, and then we drove back. That was the time that, and then when they got back to my house, and actually, Ronaldo came up and said, "Well, what do you got to eat, Al?" Well, I said, how about, what the heck was that cheese? He said, "Don't you have any mortadella or anything like that?" He says, "Everybody has mortadella." You know, but that's how we were, okay? Yeah. That's how we were. And it wasn't, and now at a meeting, don't misunderstand this, I saw some very heated meetings that we were involved in. I remember Larry Pachetti and Ronaldo getting into it. Larry saying, "You're playing the percentages there," and getting into heated discussion. Even Mario Cucci got excited many times. But afterwards, that was it. We'd go to dinner.
You just
that was it.
Left it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to be, I believe. What do you really feel is the true strength of the ICF?
It's people. It's people. Yeah. It's people. If you're looking to the people of the ICF to be overly sophisticated, then you better look elsewhere. But if you're looking for a person that is sincere and wants to do something, and you provide some leadership, that's the ICF. And Luigi saw that. He saw that strata of Italians that needed the leadership and needed coordination. Sincere organization.
I agree with what he said.
Well, I'm glad you're both in agreement. Well, I'm at the end of the questions we had, but I'd like you to, anything else you'd like to share with us about your experience with the ICF, or anything you want to add? Tell the people that are going to be watching this video.
Well, I always loved the ICF. I'm sure Al always did. I had the good fortune of knowing Luigi very well. I found him to be a very good man. He was not perfect. Like most human beings, he had his own frailties. But overall, he was an inspiration to me because he had one interest, and that was the ICF. And he devoted himself exclusively to that. And as long as you understood that, you understood Luigi. And he was very charitable. You could go over to his house for dinner. You could drink with him. You could take trips with him. And he would tell stories. And it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
I concur entirely. One example, one night we went to Ukiah. At that time we didn't have Coolies and Nima as a national charity. We used to pick a different one, Tom, you remember? Whatever may have occurred that year somewhere, we picked it and it was our national charity. This happened to be the young lady that was raped and her escort was killed in Ukiah. And I can't think of the name of her, but she's right in the front of the 50th anniversary book. And I recall bringing the check up, and Luigi Negustin, and I was still Grand President. It was the tail end of my term. And we went to Ukiah and presented the check directly to her, and the bishop was there. Those kinds of things is what stand out in my mind that we did at that time. I don't know of any organization that does what we do. You know, I even told Jim Jones, I said, how many organizations do you know that have these programs that operate without administrative overhead, that the people donate and it goes entirely to the program, and the Federation picks up the cost of operating the program? I don't know.
No,
they all have, not that we're perfect, and I agree with Tom, Luigi wasn't perfect, but I think Tom said it one day when he was in Sacramento, and they had a reception for Francis and myself. And he said, we would meet, we would talk, and we'd get angry with each other, but when we left, we loved each other.
Well, on behalf of the Heritage Committee, we sure thank you for doing this interview. And we may be coming back to ask you for something more in the future.
Pardon me?
Where do we send the bill?
Yeah.
Same place you always do.
Glad you have the address.
Well, thanks again.
Oh,
Yeah, great.
I enjoyed it.
Thank
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, I think
It's really
they're
nice.
going to